Hello and welcome to episode 2. I suppose this is the podcast equivalent of the difficult second album. Are we going to achieve our aim and blaze brightly like the Beatles? Or is it going to be more like Justin Bieber from now on? Who knows? But let's start. This is Join Up Dots.
Welcome to Join Up Dots. Amazing conversation. Join Up Dots, get a dose of motivation. Join Up Dots. Don't forget the inspiration. Welcome to the place that's got the light. Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots. Join up dots.
Yes, today's guest is the go-to expert if you're looking for the idea that ignites your life, dreams and financial security, but feel that you need big bucks to kick it all off. Our guest has over the last decade written 3 best-selling business books, proving you can start with very little capital with inspired titles such as The Pumpkin Plan and The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. I bet he cleaned up with that one. See what I did? Yeah. But that is not all. He has also created from scratch 3 multi-million-pound businesses and helped countless other wannabe entrepreneurs to build their own futures. He's been a businessman, author, TV presenter, angel investor, and he even worked in a computer shop. But it hasn't always been plain sailing, and he has experienced both the heady highs and crushing lows that make a story so compelling. So join with us today as we start joining up dots with Michalowicz. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I do have a scratchy voice, but maybe it'll seduce you. Maybe you'll find it sexy.
I think, actually, I'm already seduced. I'm a man that doesn't take a lot of seduction, I promise you.
Okay. Oh, good.
Just give me a computer screen and an empty room and I'm away.
Ditto.
So where is life for you at the moment, Mike? So obviously we're speaking live over Skype, but whereabouts are you actually sitting?
I live right outside New York City. I'm in New Jersey. I'm maybe 20 miles west of the Lincoln Tunnel, one of the main gateways into New York City. And we are getting over. Today's the second day of spring. We hopefully no more snow. It's been the most snowy, cold winter, I think, in my lifetime. I'm in my 40s. It was a brutal winter.
Yeah, but you Americans love the snow, don't you?
No, I don't know. Not me. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to come over to you. I heard there was no snow there this year.
No, we've had no snow at all. But I'll be honest, I went over to America in 2010. And I flew in on the 5th of February, never forget it.
Oh.
And it was the most snow I've ever seen in my life. And I was supposed to be doing a 700-mile sort of road trip from Atlanta up to New York. And we ended up doing a 3,000-mile one through Nashville and Indiana just to dodge these storms that were like pounding us.
Oh, my God.
So I promise you, I accept that snow is a different ballgame over there than over here.
Yeah, it seems like it is.
Yeah, we get a little bit of a sprinkling. Well, there's been huge excitement in my house this morning because I didn't realise how famous you were. Did you? did you realise how famous you were?
No, with your children or wife? I have no idea.
Well, with my children, I've got a daughter called Ashley who's 8 years old, and every morning she'll say to me, "Daddy, who are you talking to today?" And I always say the same thing. I always say to her, "Look, you're English. Why are you talking in that accent? Just you pull yourself together." But today, I said, well, I'm talking to a man called Mike Michalowicz. And honestly, the enthusiasm in her was amazing. It was like I'd walked into the lounge and the Beatles had reformed and were playing Hey Jude on my piano. It was like,
oh my God.
It was like beyond anything. And I said to her, why? How do you know this chap? How do you know Mike Michalowicz? And she went, oh, I love him. I so love him. I think he's brilliant. Well, it turns out that she thought you were the little green one from Monsters, Inc.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
awesome.
So if you ever do meet her live, Mike, just squint a bit so that she thinks you've had some kind of surgery and you've lost a big one eye.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Oh, that's fantastic.
Has anyone ever linked you with that chap before?
No, this is the first, but now I know, and I am going to keep that. Yeah,
so every time you watch Monsters Inc. or Monsters University or whatever it is, you're the chap. You're the chap at the front. Mm. But your name is interesting, isn't it? So where does your name actually come from?
It's Ukrainian. I'm third generation So my father was the first. I'm sorry, my father's father was the first generation here in the U.S. and came from the Ukraine and Hungary, all in that way or area of Eastern Europe.
And do you ever go back there at all, or is that not part of your
Well, I've
history?
been to Russia. I've traveled around Europe, but just a little bit. You know, being a speaker now, I travel extensively, but I would say 90% of my travel is North America, Mexico, U.S., and Canada.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
I want to get out where you are actually.
Well, come across.
Yeah, you know, I've never been to the UK at all. So shame on me. I really want to get out there.
We drink a lot, I promise you.
Oh, so do the Canadians.
Yeah, they do.
I thought I could handle myself. No way. I've just given up. I can't. I cannot compete with anyone from Canada, and I presume no one from England either.
Well, you certainly wouldn't be able to compete with my wife.
She's a boozer, huh? She can drink.
She is 4'10" high, but she can drink anyone under the table. But most of the time, she's actually under the table herself because she's quite small. But I went to Pennsylvania a couple of years ago, and we went into a bar, and there was all these American football players, huge blokes. And I'm not the biggest bloke in the world. I'm 6'1", but I'm quite slim. And they said, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to get the drinks. We're going to get the drinks in." And there was about 15 of us, and they brought out like 2 pitchers, and that's like a starter for us over here. And so we finished that, and I said, "Oh, should I go and get some more?" And they went, "Oh, you Englishmen, you really know how to drink." And I thought, well, that's only about half a pint of lager I've had so far. Yeah, so it's astonishing drinking. So let's just go back into your history, because the theme of the show is obviously about joining up the dots, and it really links to the iconic speech that Steve Jobs did back in about 2005. When he stood up and he said, "You can only..." Well, I tell you what, we'll just play the clip and see what you think.
Sure.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
So, yeah, looking back makes all the difference. Now, in your life, obviously, as I was saying in the intro, you've been a businessman, author, TV presenter, angel investor. Has that been something that you've just kind of migrated into, or has that been something that you've looked back and actually consciously planned for it because you have joined up the dots, like you were saying?
Yeah, you know, I did plan a few things, but the majority of it was kind of morphed. So when I started out, after college, I never intended to be an entrepreneur. I never intended to have my own business. I didn't want it. I didn't imagine it. But I couldn't get a job after finishing the university. So I ended up working at a computer store. And one night, my friend and I who worked there, we went out for drinks. And we had half a pint, and for an American, we're getting ripped. We're wasted already. And we're talking about how difficult it is to work for this boss. He makes all the money, yet we make all the effort. So I said, you know what? I'm quitting tonight, and I'm starting my own business. And I left a drunken, slurry message for my boss, telling him that I'm going to start a competing business. Which, by the way, I recommend no one ever do that. It's stupid. Don't call your boss and tell him you're going to compete. But that's what I did. And then the next morning, I actually tried to get my job back. I regretted what I said and tried to exit out. And he said, "Sorry, kid, you're on your own." So at 23, I was starting my first company because I got drunk the night before.
So when you did that, because this is beyond sort of comprehension, really, the amount of people who would have just gone and got another job somewhere. They would have gone, right, I've worked in a computer store. This is what I know. I'm going to do the same thing again. But you went, no, I'm going to create my own company. So wasn't there, a fear that stopped you? Wasn't there sort of in your head doubts saying, who am I to start my own company? How did you actually go about it?
Oh, I was terrified. I was just thinking about it, I still shake how scared I was. When I quit, my boss at the time, said he's calling every single company he knows and telling them what a scummy thing I did to quit and leave. And he's like, you'll never get a job in this industry, in this area again. Now, the other thing is I also already got married very young and had a child already. So my wife and I had our first son. So at 23, I had to feed 3 people, get shelter, an apartment or something. And so fear, I was terrified that I was doing this. I was more terrified that it would fail because I had to bring enough income for my family. So I got to work immediately and I did whatever it would take to make $1.
Do you think if you hadn't have burnt your bridges, you would have still been in that computer store, or was there a natural progression for you to actually make it on your own anyway?
No, I think I'd still be a corporate guy. If I could have got a corporate job, that was what I was dreaming for. I was shocked I didn't get a corporate job. I think I'd still be there. The irony is, after growing my second company, I was very fortunate. I grew to 2 companies I sold. My second one I sold to a Fortune 500, and this was only about 6-7 years ago. And after you sell your company to a Fortune 500, you become an employee for that company. And I worked for them for 1 year in the corporate environment. The dream job I thought I wanted the day I graduated college was now available for me, and it was the worst. I mean, I couldn't stand the politics and the brown nosing, and
I've been there.
You've been there. It's
I have been
horrible.
there. I think many of the listeners are actually in that position at the moment.
Oh, it's horrible, and it was funny. I was making a really good income there. Actually, I was making enough money there that it was probably more than I made most of my years as an entrepreneur, besides selling my companies. That's where I made the majority of my wealth. But even though I was making really good income, my God, it drained the life out of my soul. Just my whole outlook on life was just blah, just gray. And I knew I wouldn't make it for long. I actually got terminated from that job. I couldn't perform. So after they acquired my business, after 1 year, they fired me. And that day, it felt like the greatest relief. I was starting over again and allowed to be an entrepreneur again.
It's amazing. I've got big resonance with that. I was working in the City of London probably about 10, 15 years ago, and I was in a job that I was earning very good income, and I hated every single second of it. And it was taking me 2.5 hours to get there. The job was just terrible all the way through, and I just couldn't leave it because it was providing income all the time. And when I was, made to leave because of situations, I kind of almost skipped out because that decision had been taken away from me.
Yeah. It's kind of like the golden handcuffs is what they call them here, in that, so much money is presented to you that the fear of leaving that job and leaving that money behind means even though you may be able to follow your passion, you're not going to make any money. So you have these golden handcuffs around you. We feel obligated to keep the job because we need that money to support our lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the funny thing is, like, our entire life is being compromised. I presume you were coming home unhappy. And what does that mean, for your wife and your kids? They see their dad's unhappy. You're basically teaching your children to just take it, to buck up and do something you hate just for the money. It's it's a horrible thing we're teaching our children.
Well,
I would never want children doing it.
I was a very good liar, so I had something that I called a worry tree. And as I was walking home, I could worry from the time I left the office all the way home. But once I touched this tree or walked past this tree, it was then I said, no, they can't see this. And I then had about 100 yards to perk myself up before I went home. So my family never really saw the sort of distress I was under because of this situation. Then I'd leave the house in the morning, go there, and once I hit that tree again, bang, it was on me.
Yeah, that's a great technique. But I even want to challenge it. Not that I know a single thing about you or your family, but I wonder if they could still read through that. It's still inside you, because I know when I'm doing what I truly love to do, what I feel called to do, I can't help but be light on my feet and just excited. And I think my family, regardless of how much I try to feign how I'm really feeling, I think they can read through it. At least for my family, can for me.
Do they stop you then? If
No.
Would they say, hang on, Dad, hang on, husband or whatever your wife calls you? I assume calls you.
She calls me both. She calls me both. It's very awkward.
But would they say, look, I can see a fundamental change in the way that you're operating at the moment. Are you in a situation you like? Or would they just kind of assume that you know what you're doing and let you go on with it?
Yeah, so, I said no. Maybe I jumped the gun there. For my children, no. They are just taking in the information, I think. They're just kind of learning from what I'm doing. My wife, she calls it out. Now, when I told her my passion really is to be an entrepreneur, that I want to impact people, she supported it, but she was terrified. I was terrified because, authors don't make any money is basically the sentiment. And she's like, we're not going to, how are we going to support any form of lifestyle doing what we want to do? So there was times she was definitely encouraging me to keep the corporate job. And she may have not used those words, but it was a scary time making these transitions.
So you were 24, you got drunk, you started your first company. Was it reasonable success quite quickly? Because it seems to me within a very short period of time you'd created your second company. Well,
yeah, it took about 8 years. We grew it to I think within the 5th year it achieved about $1 million in revenue, $1 million US, and then I sold it when it was about $1.5 million in revenue. But one big misnomer about that size is I thought that when your business does $1 million in revenue, you, the owner, are taking home something similar to that amount. I thought you make a lot of money then. And no, the reality was I was barely making any money. For quite a period of time, I was actually putting money into it from savings or whatever I could find. And I was definitely not living a lavish lifestyle by any stretch of the imagination. I sold the company to private equity because I actually wanted to grow it faster. I wanted to be bigger. I wanted to be a bigger top line, but another guy that I was working with there, we achieved a certain lifestyle that he enjoyed, and he didn't want to take it any further. So we said there's two options: either he leaves, and I'm going to buy the business from him, or he buys the business from me, and I leave. And we agreed. He raised some money, bought it from me, and allowed me to spawn. This was my planned one. I wanted to do what's called a pump and dump, build a company really fast and sell it. And this time, that's exactly what happened.
Now, talking to you now, you seem very open, very at place with yourself. You're very sort of humble. But was there a time going through that? Because I think I would become, to use a word, quite arrogant, that I'm growing a company, I'm in charge of a company, there's two companies going, and it's almost like I've got the Midas touch. Did that ever occur to you?
Oh, my God, yeah. I became a dick. When I sold my second company. So my second company was in computer crime investigation. And when
how do you create that? How does that idea come to you? Because I wouldn't know the first thing. I've watched CSI and that's about it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was watching CSI. I came back to meet with someone else I know and is an entrepreneur. He was watching the same program. He's like, you know what? We should just do this for a living. And we partnered up. I sold my interest in my first company, and we did it because CSI had it. I had no idea how to go about it, but once you stick the label out there that I'm in computer crime investigation, you just run with it. You figure it out, and that business grew explosively. 2.5 years after starting it, Robert Half International, that's the Fortune 500 that bought us, came in and acquired the company, and that's the exact moment, David, I thought I was Midas. I was like, look at me. Anything I start, I can sell. I understand how to grow big businesses. I'm a genius. And just became this arrogant dick. I bought cars, like really expensive cars, just to show off my trophies and my wealth. I moved into a very expensive town. I joined the posh local exclusive club. Like, there's all these things that really wasn't the core essence of who I was. It was more of a desperate attempt just to show off that I achieved something, that I was successful. And what happened was within 2 years of that day, I lost everything. I spent every penny. I became an angel investor. I like to call myself now the angel of death. I killed business after business. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just throwing money out the window. and lost everything.
So for people that don't know what an angel investor is, can you just give us a sort of background on that?
Yeah, it's an investor, just like you would invest in your stock market and buy stock in a large company. An angel investor buys stock in very small companies. You're considered angels because usually for these small businesses, they can't raise money any other way besides using the founder's money or someone from the outside who they consider an angel, and that's you. But the angels is kind of a bad term because these aren't particularly noble people. These are investors just like anyone else. They put money into a business with an expectation for return. And I was just a stupid angel investor. I would put money into businesses that would never make money. I didn't even understand the concept of the business. I just thought it was a good idea. And if this arrogant Mr. Midas here was involved, it would be successful somehow, some way.
Did you actually look back at that person now? And are you ashamed, or do you just go, oh, that was just a phase, I can kind of gloss over that?
Oh, I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I've told this story multiple times now, and it quakes my soul. The only thing I'm happy about from that phase of my life is I hope that arrogance, that dickishness, has been ripped out of me and will never return again. I consider it a disease. It got so low, David, that when I lost all this money doing, quote unquote, investing in these different things, I came home to my family. I have 3 children, my wife, and finally had to fess up that I lost everything. And I'm crying in front of my family, and my children are shocked because basically the money I made from them, I had stolen away. The money I made to support our family, I had now ripped away. And my daughter left the room to come back into the room with her savings piggy bank and put it down in front of me and said, Daddy, I'll support us. And that's a humbling moment.
Yeah.
And that was the day, I think, that the final drip of arrogance was removed.
So the Mike Michalowicz that's sitting here now is only that person because of what you've gone through. Would you go through that again to get to the point in your life where you are now?
That's a great question. I'm very happy with where I am in my life now. That was such a painful period. I would try to avoid it at all costs, but I also know I would have never learned the lessons I learned if I didn't go through it. So I realized, looking back, connecting the dots, that was probably the most important phase of my life. But God, I don't ever want to go through that again. It was so painful.
Because I think, actually, although you're saying that it was painful, I think that the powerful thing that comes out of that story that you've just said is the fact that you were willing to take action. Everything. Okay, it was sort of misplaced action, and you look back on it and say, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't really have the knowledge. I didn't have the understanding. But still, you were doing something. Where the majority of people in life, I saw a stat the other day that it says something like 99% of people do not take action. It's just they respond to what floats near them. So they'll be in a crappy job, and then somebody says to them, oh, I know a job that's going around the corner. And they almost wait for things to happen. You haven't. You've actually gone out from the age of 24 and you've tried different things, some that have worked, some that haven't, but it's made you who you are, it's made you rounded, and I suppose in the long term, you now know what you like doing and what you don't like doing, which is a powerful place to be, I would have thought.
Yeah, no, that's true. I have absolute clarity in my life. Where I am now, I've defined as my life's purpose. I totally feel I am doing exactly what I'm meant to do, and I don't foresee, it may change, I don't foresee for the rest of my life doing anything different than what I do now. And you're right, all that history and experience I went through has brought me to this moment, so I value it. And I think everyone listening right now, we all need to identify, like, why are we here on this planet? What's our life's purpose? God-given or self-given, however you want to derive it, we have to determine our purpose. Because once we do, it starts becoming this magnet. It starts pulling us forward. As I make decisions on a daily basis now, I can simply say, is this consistent with my life's purpose or not? If it's not, I don't do it. If it is, I do it. It's very clear on what I need to do and not do nowadays.
Does it become easier once you get that passion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it becomes easier. I mean, the financials still are up and down. I actually had my best financial year in my life last year, doing what I'm passionate about. So you still have those trials and tribulations, but here's the thing: when times get dark, you're under a lot of stress or things aren't working, there's still that kind of beacon of light that kind of is pulling you forward, and you still know where to head because it's your passion. When I was in my other businesses, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't speaking to my life's purpose. When we were in the darkest periods, I was ready to give up instantly. I was like, I'm done. But
why didn't you then? Why didn't you give up?
Well, I did. Like my first computer company, selling it was giving up. Because I didn't have such a close tie to it, wasn't connected so closely to my soul that I wasn't willing to work through the challenges.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gave up. The forensic company, the computer crime investigation company, same thing. I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I just wanted to grow real fast and make some money, but it wasn't speaking to my heart. So when it went away, I was fine with it. If what I do now fails, that'll tear out my heart. This is my life's purpose. Therefore, it won't fail. I'm never going to stop doing it.
So what is your day-to-day life? You're saying this is where you should be. This is what I'm on this planet to do. What are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I've defined my life's purpose. That's the starting point. Is that I empower entrepreneurs to express their authentic self through business. Meaning, I wanted to get entrepreneurs, people that are trying to grow companies, to have their business really become their soulmate, to fall in love with their business and have their business serving them. So that's what I think that's what I know my purpose is. So the daily routine is my strongest ability is public speaking and books. So I spend the majority of my time. I do lots of public speaking. I travel all over North America, as I was telling you, some international too, speaking and spreading the word. The books, I write constantly. I'm writing my newest book right now, and those are constantly in circulation too, because and it takes me a long time to write a book. It may take me 2 to 3 years to really write a book, but I put every ounce of my soul into writing what I believe to be a good book, because I know once someone reads it, if this book will resonate with their soul, if they fall in love with it, a book can serve them forever. So the majority of my days are public speaking, coordinating public speaking, or working on a book.
I actually say the majority of your day, from what I can see, is actually having fun. Even if you go onto your website, there's a nice little thing on there that sort of takes the mickey out of your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to play a bit now. So if anyone's interested, go over to mikemichalowicz.com, and there's a little button there, and I'm going to click it and see what you think.
It's pronounced Mike Michalowicz. Well, usually. Click again for some, let's say, alternative pronunciations. Beer lovers call him Mike Michelob Schmitz. Farmers call him Mike, my cow has tits. River dancers call him Mike, my clogging and splits. Haters and old high school friends, which may be one and the same, call him Mike, my Calishits.
Now, for me, that said so much about you before I even met you. I just, it resonated that there was somebody there that was open to taking, the mickey out of themselves and having fun and being purely authentic. And it did set it up different from other websites that I've looked at that are very staid, very boring, very business-like. Is that your authentic self actually playing?
Oh, that's totally me. It's totally me. Nothing gets me more excited than when I do a speaking engagement and someone comes up and says, "Hey, it's Michelob Schmitz," or "Hey, it's Michalowicz," because that's what my friends call me. That's just how we are. So that absolutely is authentically me, and I believe that most entrepreneurs, most business owners put on a presence that they think the customers want, but it's really a watered down version of their true self, or even a fake front. And it's not sustainable. It means you have to be fake. If your website's fake, then when you do business with people, you have to be fake, and then it becomes this whole fake thing. To me, it reminds me of the corporate arena. So we have to be authentically ourselves. Then there's no need to fake. You never have to lie about it.
But when do you find out your authentic self? Because the points you were making is absolutely true. I've gone through the corporate world and I have seen people basically pretending to be other people. They see people in a higher position and go, that's how I should act because they're in a position that I want to get to. So when do you actually get to that point where you go, this is me? Because I know personally, for me, the more stupid that I am is more naturally myself. So if I used to do training courses, if I was being silly and doing it in a slightly offhand, throwaway fashion, I was far more effective because that was actually me.
Yeah, so I think we have to evaluate every element of what we do and just ask ourselves, do I truly love this because I love this, or do I like this because I think other people will like it? And if you're the latter, you're being fake. We have to do it because we like it. Now here's the evaluation I do. When I set my website, I ask myself, if my best friends visit my website, are they going to resonate with it? Are they going to say, oh yeah, that's Mike? If my best friends read my books, are they going to know it's my voice within seconds? And if the answer is no, it's not my authentic self. And quite frankly, I only want to do business with people that ultimately could become my best friends. I don't want to do business with people that don't like who I really am. So I put my authentic self out there in every aspect. And the greatest compliments I get is, this happened about a year ago. I ran into someone and they said, I got to tell you, Mike, I found this book out there, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. That was my first book. And I started reading it. And as I was reading this book, I was like, holy cow, there was this guy I knew in college named Mike Michalowicz. This sounds so much like him. And then when the guy got to the end of the book and he never looked at who the author was, realized it was me, he's like, go figure. So if we're authentic, our best friends will say, yep, that's who you are. That's you.
Can you be too authentic and start being a caricature of yourself?
I guess. I went a little bit extreme with Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, specifically to be edgy. But I wouldn't say it's too authentic. I don't think you can be too authentic. But I did play up my idiosyncrasies a lot.
Yeah.
And it offends some people. It's too much for some people. But conversely, when you're just trying to break into a market, I had to be edgy to get noticed. If I just came in a watered-down version of myself, I would have never gotten noticed. So, at least for myself, I came in a little more sophomoric in the beginning, but I've matured, but I still haven't lost the edge. It's still there. It's just a little bit less intense. That is true.
So if we looked at mini Mike, we went back to sort of like a 5-year-old Mike, would it be roughly the same as you are now?
Oh, totally. I got in trouble at school for being the class clown. I'm not good. I'd be actually goofing around a lot more now if I wasn't sick. I think I'm the exact same guy.
And that's powerful, isn't it? That is a powerful place to be.
Yeah. I lost it for quite a few years. I lost it. I was trying to be someone else. I wanted to be. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Wall Street. I wanted to be Gordon Gekko. I wanted to be the greased back hair, really successful, greed is good guy. And that's where, by not being my authentic self, I allowed the seed of arrogance to start to grow, and then finally it overcame me. But by getting back to my authentic self, it's just a lot cleaner lifestyle. I just love life so much more.
I think that brings us really nicely to what I think is the most powerful part of the show. And it's what I call the sermon on the mic. This is when I hand over the presenting duties to yourself and you speak from the heart to the audience about the life that you believe that they can have if they only take action, if they strive to create momentum, and as you were saying, to be the person that they are on this earth to be. Now, I think we need a bit of music to start this off because this is going to be a motivational bit. And so here we go.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Now, those guys have been standing there quietly for about 45 minutes now. So,
they're really good performers.
Yeah,
such discipline.
they've
Such
done their
discipline. Yeah. I feel like saying, the Lord Jesus has overcome you. But here's where my thoughts go immediately, is we all have a talent that is so strong in us and so unique that I believe every person listening in truly is the world's best. And the thing is, we need to identify where we're the world's best. I used to believe that there was only one world's best. And the example would be, you watch the Olympics and someone wins a gold medal. That person, whoever won the gold medal, that person, at least for now, is the world's best until someone ups them by a little bit and they become the new world's best. But it meant that there was only one person. And the American hero is Michael Phelps in recent times. And I remember watching Michael Phelps doing a race recently in the last Olympics. And when he won his 8th or 9th gold medal, I was with my youngest son, Jake, and I said, Jake, that's the world's best. Like, you have to just commit and devote your life to something, and you can win it. And you will be the world's best. And my son said something really interesting. He looked up at me and said, Daddy, Michael Phelps isn't the world's best. My classmate, Jimmy Michalowicz, is. And then Jake, my son, was in kindergarten at the time. And I said, what do you mean, Jimmy Michalowicz? How's he the world's best? And Jake said, well, Jimmy Michalowicz can swim across the entire lake in our town. And I said, well, Jake, if Michael Phelps came to our lake, he would kick Jimmy Michalowicz's ass. And then my little kindergartner there looks at me and says, but Daddy, Michael Phelps has never come to our lake. And what I realized in that moment is the world is a perception. My son's perception of the world is his kindergarten class. My perception of the world is different, and David, yours is different. We all have a different perception of what the world is. And then the definition of the best is different too. For Michael Phelps, it may be speed, but for Jimmy Michalowicz, it's distance. And for other kids, it's who can splash the highest. And there's all these different definitions. So therefore, if there's an infinite number of worlds, vantage points, if there's an infinite number of ways to be the best, distance, speed, splash, all these different things, that means everyone has the opportunity to be the world's best. We just got to pick which world to serve, and then what's our definition of the best. And the thing is, it's really easy to do this because you are already in your world. You already know who your world is because it's your perception of the world. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe it's a type of market. I don't know, but you understand it because you're already part of that world. And then the best part is also inside you. It's your authentic self. When you let yourself be truly who you're meant to be, that is your best. When you do what you love to do most and you get energy from it, that is your best. One little hint at passion is tasks, as you do them, deplete energy and make you tired. They drain from you. But when you're passionate, the more you do it, it actually builds energy as you're doing it. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to work through the night and all that stuff. I'm saying you're going to build mental energy. And yeah, you may be physically exhausted at the end of the day, but your mind has been more and more stimulated. So identify the world, your world's perception, who you believe your world is, and then just be your natural, true, authentic self to the most for that world. And by default, you become the world's best.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for that. Just before we go, I just want to leave this, probably the last bit is back to Mr. Voiceover Man from your website. So let's see what he says about you.
I call him Mike Good-for-Nothing, trash-sucking, dirt-licking, turd-spewing. You can lick my pits, and so can my ex-wife. I hope you two are happy together, you son of a bitch, Michalowicz. You're a real SOB, but damn it, I can't stop loving you, Mike. In a bromance sort of way.
And I think I feel the same way, Mike. Thank you so much for being on the show today. You've been an absolute delight. I know all the listeners will gain so much. If anyone wants to contact you, which is the best way to actually go about it?
Yeah, come to my website. It's mikemichalowicz.com. Dave, maybe you'll put up a link, but it's MICHALOWICZ.com, or your best attempt at spelling that on Google, and you'll find me. All my information's there. Plus free stuff from my books, and there's a blog up there, some crazy videos, some TV stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Or just type in Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
That's the way. Well, thank you very much. And as I say, keep on joining up those dots, because it's the only way to build our future.
That's the end of Join Up Dots. You've heard the conversation. Now it's time for you to start taking massive action. Create your future, create your life. It's the only life you've got. And we'll be back again real soon. Join up dots, join up dots, join up dots, join up dots. Join up dots.